Lacus Kingston, the Alpha King of Silverania, was incredibly gratified that I was willing to marry his son, Alaric Kingston. It was just a pity that Alaric was currently away for training. Hence, the marriage ceremony would have to wait until he returned 3 months later. On the way back to my room from Lacus' audience chamber in the palace, I overheard the maids around me discussing quietly among themselves. "Look. That's the daughter of the Astoria Pax Alpha, Sylvia Holting." "You mean the daughter of the one who died a year ago? What a pitiful lady." In their eyes, I was a pitiful person whose father had passed away not long ago. Pitiful? Hardly. She's already used this as leverage to request that the Alpha King approve her marriage to Mr. Cardell. Ah. I've long heard that she admires Mr. Cardell, but there's no pride in doing things this way. That's right. As the daughter of the Astoria Pax Alpha, she's completely lacking in dignity. I listened quietly to their words of slander. Just as I was preparing to explain myself, Perry Cardell appeared before me. He was furious. "You asked my father to arrange our marriage without my consent, Sylvia. Now the entire country of Silverania knows that you're about to become my wife. Can you not be so selfish?" I gave him a baffled look. "When did I say I wanted to marry you?" He scoffed. "Father summoned his ministers just now. He declared that you wanted to marry his son and asked them to hasten preparations for the ceremony. Your intentions are as clear as day." I was speechless. Perry was not Lacus' only son. In fact, Perry was only his stepson. When bringing up the topic of Lacus' son, shouldn't his more outstanding biological son, Alaric, be the first person to come to mind? I explained, "You've misunderstood. You're not the one I want to marry." However, Perry cut me off impatiently. "Stop making excuses. I've already heard father say that all our servants should treat you as courteously as they would treat a princess. Who else would you want to marry if not me? Weren't you the one who declared that your wish was to marry me during the celebration of our coming-of-age ceremony back then? Because of that, even a 3-year-old Silveranian child knows that you want to marry me now." Listening to him bring up the foolish things I did during my youth made me feel embarrassed. I certainly did many ignorant and daring things back then, during the time I still felt true admiration for him. As shame kept me from speaking up, Perry approached me and spoke to me through Mind Link. "I've already found my destined mate thanks to the Moon Goddess arrangement, and I've already formed a bond with said mate. I don't mind letting you have the title of princess on the outside, but I'm only going to live together with my true mate." I stared at him in astonishment. Something like this had not happened in my previous life. In my previous life, Perry had gone along with Lacus' arrangements without protest. He had simply formed a bond with me without seeking the Moon Goddess' divine guidance at all. Had this change occurred because he had also been reincarnated? Before I could come to a conclusion as to whether or not Perry had also been reborn, Adelaide Morgenstern walked up to us and held my hand in hers. Adelaide was not only the Luna Queen of Silverania but also Alaric and Perry's biological mother. She told me that she was very happy that I was willing to marry her son and that she welcomed me as a member of their family. As she said all this, Perry's smug, knowing expression from behind her made me feel incredibly displeased. Adelaide said that she wanted to give me some pure white silk to be used in the making of my wedding dress. One of the Silveranian Pax had presented the silk to the royal family as tribute. She asked Perry to take me to the storage room to retrieve it. Left with no other choice, I followed him to the storage room. Along the way, we encountered Shirley Lamos. Shirley, who had always been an extremely delicate lady, had 2 visible tear tracks trailing down her face, which made her look even more pitiable. She looked at me and Perry as she said with great distress, "I heard that Alpha King has announced your engagement. Although we've already become mates under the Moon Goddess arrangement, I can ask him to help us terminate the bond." "It's all right. I don't want you to disobey Alpha King's order for my sake." After she had said her piece, she covered her eyes with a handkerchief and hurried away. "Shirley," Perry yelled after her, then turned to bellow at me, "Look at what you've done, Sylvia." He glared at me before going after Shirley. I felt incredibly wronged. Fortunately, the storage room was right ahead, so I helped myself to the silk that Adelaide had mentioned and prepared to leave. However, as I turned the corner, I encountered Shirley and Perry, who were currently entangled with each other. They kissed and touched each other passionately, heedless of the attendants standing watch outside. If not for the fact that this was the palace, they would probably have taken off their clothes and do something more intimate on the spot. The guards watching the door were red in the face and, at the same time, gazed sympathetically at me. They were waiting expectantly for me to catch the intimate couple red-handed and kick up a huge fuss while disregarding all etiquette, all so they could enjoy a good show. Unfortunately, I would have to disappoint them. I simply glanced calmly at the couple before turning to leave. Late at night, I was taking my measurements according to the tailor's instructions. The tailor put one wedding dress mock-up after another on me, preparing to transform me into the most beautiful bride. Perry and Shirley came in right at that moment. When Perry saw me wearing the white gauze, he was stunned for a moment, which Shirley was very displeased about. She tugged on Perry's sleeve, and it was only then that he put on an air of calm. "I heard that you saw me kissing Shirley today, but you didn't get angry, and you didn't tell my parents, either," he said. "That's very good. As a princess, you should have the magnanimity befitting of one. However, this doesn't mean that I'll change my mind. I brought Shirley to see you today in order to make my stance clear. In my heart, Shirley is my lifelong mate." Shirley blushed shyly. "Please don't humiliate the princess like this because of me, Perry." She then said to me, "I'm really sorry for stealing the person you like from you, but it's me and Perry who are destined mates, so please forgive me." However, while Perry was not paying attention, she added via mind link, "You're suffering, aren't you? In this life, I'm the one who'll become the Luna of the Runestone Pack, Silverania's largest pack." What did she mean by that? How did she know that the Runestone Pack would become Silverania's largest pack? Moreover, around this time in the previous life, Perry and Shirley had still not met up often, but now they were so close they practically shared the same brain cell. It seemed like they had both reincarnated into this life. I lowered my gaze, recalling my previous life. After marrying Perry, I experienced countless battles and suffered no small number of injuries. I helped Perry repel the surrounding rogues and expand the pack's territory, which finally led to the Runestone Pack becoming the largest pack in the country. At that thought, I became curious as to whether Perry would still be able to achieve such a feat in this life without my assistance. After Perry and Shirley left, Adelaide visited me in my room. She informed me that Alaric was already preparing to return early and would be back in around 4 days. Although he could not return promptly, he did send an engagement gift ahead of himself, an heirloom box with the royal family crest carved into it. I was quite surprised. After all, Alaric had never taken a mate in my previous life. Therefore, I did not expect him to not only willingly accept this marriage but also take it seriously. In return for the respect he was showing me, I decided to give him a gift as well. My father had once prepared wedding gifts for me. Among them was a mineral called glassite, mined from the foot of the snow-capped Southark Mountains. Any weapons forged from glassite were practically indestructible. In my previous life, I had the glassite forged into a spear that I gifted to Perry. However, he had not treasured it and casually forgot it on the battlefield during one of the battles we participated in. In this life, I decided to use the glassite to forge a war hammer, which was the weapon Alaric was the most proficient at. As I ran through all this in my mind, I found myself walking unconsciously toward the storage room where I stored my belongings. When I opened the door, Shirley's sweet voice drifted into my ears. "Sylvia won't be angry with you for giving me something from her wedding gifts without obtaining her consent, will she, Perry? What does she have to be angry about? She's just a bootlicker, and once she marries me, I'll be able to do what I please with these things, anyway," replied Perry. In the storage room, my belongings, which had originally been arranged neatly, had all been rummaged through and left in a mess. Shirley was also wearing all my treasured jewelry. I said disbelievingly, "These are my wedding gifts. What right do you have to mess with them or even give part of them to Shirley?" I hurriedly snatched my jewelry off Shirley's neck and returned them to their boxes. Shirley covered her neck, which had red marks from when I had forcefully retrieved my jewelry, and hid in Perry's arms. She wailed, "Did I do something wrong for Sylvia to treat me so cruelly, Perry?" Perry hugged her in distress, then turned to yell at me, "Weren't you planning to give all these things to me, Sylvia? I said that I didn't want them at the beginning, but you insisted on giving them to me, which was extremely annoying. What's wrong with me giving them to Shirley now? Didn't you say that both you and these items all belong to me? I simply could not believe his shamelessness. Who said that these were yours? These items and I all belong to my future husband. Perry laughed scornfully. Am I not your future husband? You should quit while you're ahead. I've already agreed to marry you, so stop pretending that you're some dignified maiden. As I looked at some of my formal dresses that were being held tightly in Shirley's arms, I suddenly became angry. I muttered a silent incantation, causing flames to ignite and burn those clothes to ashes. Shirley screamed shrilly and let go of the dresses, but the fire still scorched her a little. I said firmly, Did you see that, Perry? Don't be so arrogant. Even if it's something I cherish, as long as they've been tarnished, I'll destroy them without the slightest hesitation. I don't want things that have been dirtied, and that's even more true when it comes to people. Upon seeing me like this, Perry froze on the spot. In the past, even when I got angry at him, it was only because I hoped to get his attention or was throwing a tantrum like a spoiled child. He had never seen me this calm and looking like I wanted nothing more to do with him. Subconsciously, he tried to grab my hand, but Shirley suddenly started sobbing. My hand hurts so much, Perry. I think I've been burned. It's all right, go. I'll handle it myself. Hurry up and comfort Sylvia so she won't be angry at you anymore. Perry hesitated for a moment before scooping Shirley into his arms and walking out with a scoff. There's no need to bother about her. Just let that woman wallow in her ugly jealousy and reflect on herself. After Perry and Shirley left, I reorganized my stuff with an aching heart. Fortunately, none of the items that were destroyed were gifts left to me by my parents. Still, it was worth losing these items in exchange for discerning just how little Perry cared for me. There was no more time to be sad. I left the city in search of the best blacksmith I could find to forge the glassite into a weapon. Alaric would be back very soon, and I wanted to give it to him as a gift during our first meeting in order to gain more favor with him. I passed through a forest on the way back to the palace. Out of habit, I glanced toward the wooden tree house built on the largest tree. That was the place where I used to play when I was young. It was under that wooden tree house that Perry saved my younger self. Because of that, the tree house was both my secret base and the place where I fell in love with him. However, the tree house was no longer as quiet as it used to be. Two intertwined legs were sticking out of the doorway. The intimate sounds and shaking of the structure all pointed toward the fact that the two of them, Perry and Shirley, were in the middle of an intense love affair. Just as I was considering taking a detour, Perry stuck his head out of the doorway and caught sight of me. Panic flashed through his eyes, but after a moment, he seemed to decide on deliberately provoking me, as the treehouse started shaking even more violently. I fled from the scene. Those two really made me feel disgusted. Another 2 days passed. When I went to collect Alaric's gift, I happened to encounter Perry. He glanced at the blacksmith's seal on the box and said with a grin, "This spear is for me, right?" Afraid that he would attempt to snatch it away again, I quickly hid the box behind my back. "It's not for you." He smiled mockingly. "Why are you trying to keep it as a surprise again? I know that you love me and can't live without me. You saw what happened at the treehouse last time, right? Well, you have to get used to that kind of thing. After we get married in the future, Shirley will also be moving into the castle we live in. I'll let you be the runestone Pax Luna in name, but Shirley is my only true mate." Although I was already aware of his shamelessness, it still annoyed me. I turned to leave, but he stopped me. "Alaric will also be back for tonight's banquet. He's father's biological son as well as the heir to the country of Silverania. It'll be a very formal dinner, so you must be prepared. I've already given you enough respect, so you also have to be considerate. If father asks tonight whether we've formed the mate bond, you must say that we've already completed the ritual. Also, you have to apologize to Shirley for hurting her last time. Otherwise, I can still cancel the marriage that I promised you at any time." He left as soon as he finished speaking, deliberately trying to appear cool. I suppressed my anger, telling myself that everything was fine. Tonight, he would find out who I really wanted to marry. I spent the entire afternoon dressing myself up. By the time the banquet was about to begin, Alaric had yet to make it back. I deliberately avoided Perry and sat at another table, leaving a seat open beside me for Alaric. However, Perry frowned and got up from his seat to sit next to me. Stop being pretentious, Sylvia. I've already reserved a seat for you. Are you still going to act willfully here? Displeased, I was just about to tell him that I had reserved this seat for his younger brother when a tall figure appeared at the banquet hall's entrance. Alaric, clad in silver armor, walked in majestically and imposingly. Young Alaric did not have the seriousness and reservations that he later possessed as Silverania's Alpha King. Currently, he was full of vigor and strength. Everyone stood up to welcome the young heir. Over the years, Alaric would use his clever mind to negotiate with the rogue packs populating the outskirts, expanding Silverania's territory without bloodshed. Everyone's eyes were on him, but his eagle-eyed gaze was fixed upon me. At that moment, Perry glanced at his pocket watch and said, I have to pick someone up. Behave yourself in the meantime. He was already hurrying out of the banquet hall as he spoke. I ignored him, staring directly at Alaric instead. Alaric also seemed to have noticed me return his gaze, continuing to look at me. After he finally finished his conversation with Lacus and Adelaide, he immediately strode over to my side and stood where Perry had been sitting just now. He exchanged pleasantries with the nobles, then tugged me into sitting down and courteously poured me some tea. Meanwhile, I retrieved the box I had hidden under my seat just now and handed it to him. Is this for me? He asked, surprise flashing in his eyes. I nodded shyly, explaining the gift's origin to him. When he heard of its precious origins, he could not hide the happiness on his face. His overexcitement caused a pair of wolf ears to appear on his head, and his furry tail swished energetically behind him. Just then, Perry burst into the hall with Shirley in tow. Everyone present had awkward expressions on their faces at the sight of them. After all, the two of them had frequently displayed their affection in public during these days without regard for time or place, as if they were mindless beasts in heat. Adelaide's expression darkened instantly. Ms. Lamos was not invited to tonight's banquet. Please leave. Perry interjected hurriedly, I was the one who invited her, Mother. She's Sylvia's cousin, so it's perfectly reasonable for her to witness tonight's joyous occasion. As soon as he said that, he tugged Shirley down to sit next to him without regard for anything else. It was only then that he noticed that Alaric was sitting next to me. His expression immediately turned ugly. He had clearly never really paid attention to me before, but tonight, I seemed to always have his attention. He hardly even noticed Shirley constantly calling his name. After seeing Alaric peeling grapes and feeding them to me, he could no longer suppress his anger and started bombarding me with mental messages through the mind link. What are you doing, Sylvia? He asked accusingly. Are you putting on a show with Alaric in order to make me jealous? However, I ignored him. Just then, Alpha King stood up with his wine glass raised high and declared, Everyone, the main purpose of tonight's banquet is to announce joyous news from our royal family. To show just how much importance the royal family places upon this marriage, we'll be having them formalize their bond before the moon goddess on a full moon night. Afraid that the truth would be exposed, Perry hurriedly spoke up before Alpha King had even finished speaking. There's no need to go to too much trouble, Father. Let's just keep things simple. He kept urging me to back him up via the mind link, but I did not wish to pay him any mind. At that moment, Alaric took my hand and walked up to Alpha King, bowing respectfully to him. Still holding my hand, he said gently, Thank you for giving us your blessing, Father. I'm willing to give Sylvia the grandest ceremony possible so that she can marry me amid the entire country's blessings. Then, he turned and said to Perry, You don't have to worry about how we're going to hold the wedding. After all, we're the ones who are getting married. What? That's impossible, Perry yelled in shock, drawing strange looks from the people around him.